Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Hi, 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 hi. Awesome. How's everybody doing? We're all good?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Lucy, I want you to meet the rest of the group. Actually, this is a new member, Lucy. She's in
Hi.
Minnesota. And oh, we can't see you, Lucy.
Can't see me.
Can't
Wait.
see you. Yeah.
I'll get the hang of this eventually. There we go.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's a very
Can you
friendly
see me now?
voice.
Yes, exactly. There we go.
Hi.
Actually, if we could just do a quick round table, it'd be awesome so that you can introduce yourselves, say where you're from, and tell Lucy what your bliss is. How's that? So, Brenda Lynn, do you want to kick us off?
Sure thing. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. If you're in the afternoon zone in the Eastern world here.
Yeah.
I'm Brenda Lynn. I live in St. Catharines, Ontario, so right near Niagara, in Niagara. I am a vision board facilitator along with my friend Carol and my friend Dana. And I empower women to live their best lives. And I'm here because I love this badass group and love what Carol has to offer, and just our collective souls are better than one, right?
Awesome.
Great.
There is power in numbers for sure. For sure. Thank
That's
you,
right.
Brenda Lynn. I'm going to go around Kara by the way I see everybody. Hi.
Hey, so I'm Kara, and I am a social media manager, business mentor, and I met Carol actually through social media and through supporting her socials. So that's how I met Carol, and then the creation of the Badass Coaching membership has been beautiful, and it's been beautiful to be alongside that journey and just watch it grow. I'm learning so much from Carol, and her and I just had a call the other day where I told her there's just so much that she has to offer. So this is just such a beautiful space. So, and I live in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
Oh, cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Kara. Actually, yeah, we're going to be talking about that conversation in this call. Dana.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Do you go by Lucy or Lucy?
Either Lucy, or Lou. It doesn't matter.
I live in Burlington, Ontario. So that's just 40 minutes outside of Toronto. And I'm a psychiatrist by day. And I know Carol and Brenda Lynn through our Vision Board certification program. And I also really have a strong kind of foot in and belief in mindfulness meditation. Yeah.
Great.
And I love all kinds of esoteric sorts of things, energy healing, that sort of thing. I could go on. Anyway, you're joining a great group.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Dana. Dan the man.
Hello. Hi, Lucy.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm close to Dana. I'm about 20 minutes away with no traffic. I'm living in Hamilton area, and I work with people on their financial goals, either developing those financial goals and then all the tools to kind of get there. So I'm a financial advisor. So that's kind of a fun way to interact with people. And I love anything like a 1, 3, or 10-day canoe trip where there's complete unplug and some good, hammock time in there, and that's fantastic. Love yoga and mindfulness, and been having a lot of fun here.
Great. Nice to meet you.
That's awesome. And Dan was our very first member. It's just the cool story. I use this story all the time.
Cool. That's nice.
And I think you might know this lady, Yasmin.
Yasmin's here?
Yes.
I'm right here.
Hi, Yasmin.
Hi, Lucy. Yes, I
Nice to see
do
you.
know Lucy. Welcome, Lucy. So good to
Thank you.
see you.
Nice
And
seeing you too.
Yeah, I think, well, you know me as well, and a few of the others. So I've known Carol now for decades, like Lucy. And I'm a writer, not an author, but a writer. And my passion is traveling to very unusual places. And I particularly resonate with, it seems like Mesopotamia, the Silk Road, the Silk Route. So that's where my passions lie along that whole route. And yeah, love being here. Always learn something from our dear mentor, Carol. Thank you very much, Carol. Great to see you, Lucy.
Thank you. Nice seeing you too.
Awesome. And last but definitely not least, Jen. Zen with Jen. Give us a quick overview where you're from. Introduce yourself to Lucy, our newest member.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, I'm late to the party. I don't know. Just like myself, my computer's not feeling well, so go. So who am I? I'm Zen with Jen. Yes. I spend a lot of time away from my home in the winter time as much as possible. Love the South. And do yoga and meditation, lots of reading. Yeah, I'm
And where are
sorry.
you based?
Got
And
up
where
from
are
a
you
nap.
based, Jen? And Jen, you're based where?
I'm in Chatham, just outside of Chatham, Ontario. Yeah,
Cool.
so welcome, Lucy and Jen.
Thank you.
Cool. And Lucy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are and what
Yes.
your bliss is?
So my name's Lucy, and I've known Yasmin and Carol for Yasmin. I hate to say decades, ugh, but I like to say 15 plus years times two. Yeah, I'm recently retired of a lot of things, of a business that I owned with my husband, and I'm retired from the husband also. Um, as of like a few months ago, but it's just been getting legal, yeah. And I'm just kind of trying to figure out what's next. My both my kids are graduating university. I'm originally from Ottawa, French Canadian, but I've been living in the US for 30 years, and my whole family's in Ottawa still. I'm the only black sheep. And yeah, that's it. I've really enjoyed my talks with Carol, and I can't wait to learn more from all of you.
Awesome. Well, this is great. Wow, full house this morning, really. This is I'm really excited about this. So, I am thrilled that you're all on board for this particular topic because it's something that I was introduced to actually just last fall in a business program that Dana and I were part of, and Jen we were part of, and the topic of the hero's journey came up, and that was a kind of an eye opener because it's all stories, right? We all have what's called a narrative identity. So that's what we're going to dive into today. So, if I could ask, actually, no, here we're good now. All right. So what I'm going to do is let me share my screen. If I can, hopefully everybody can see this. Can everyone see this? Yes. Okay, good. All right. Because what I want to do is I want to make sure that I see at least most of you, but that I can still see my notes. Yeah, so I mean, the reason I wanted to do this is because, I mean, think about it. We see stories every day in social media. Whether you love it or you hate it, social media is part of our fabric. And stories give our lives meaning. And the hero's journey is actually based on Joseph Campbell's book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. I'll get into a little bit more of that, but essentially he was able to identify that there's kind of the structure around the basic stories that not only exist in Hollywood, but he kind of paralleled what Carl Jung was talking about in terms of, you know, archetypes and that kind of thing. So, and according to an assistant professor of management and organization at Boston College by the name of Benjamin Rogers, perceiving our life as a hero's journey is associated with psychological benefits such as enhanced well-being, greater life satisfaction, feeling like you're flourishing, and reduced depression. So the way that people tell their life story shapes how meaningful their lives feel. This is a quote from him. So I'm going to be including the link to this article actually in the vault after this. So this whole deck is going to be in there. I'm going to try, and I try to include now the notes in the deck, so you know. So when I'm uploading it to the vault, I upload it with the notes. So I'm kind of following it, not word for word, but pretty much all of the meat is going to be in there. So it's not just a PDF with the slides, it's a PDF with the notes behind it. So although our mind thinks in images, and that's something, of course, we're going to be reviewing like we always do on these calls, those images really do come to life when they're woven into a story, right? That's the topic today, the hero's journey, your movie on the big screen of your mind. So before we dive in, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions, just pop them into the chat. The Q&A is going to follow, but I'll be checking in throughout the presentation. The call is being recorded. Let me make sure that that's the case. Because that would be the worst. Okay, hang on a second. Let me make sure. Oh, no. Okay, let me stop sharing for a second. I just want to make sure that it is, in fact, it is recording. I couldn't tell when I was sharing my screen. There we go. All right. And like I said, the call is going to be available in the vault, as well as the notes and as well as all of the other calls. So what you're going to find here is that this one is actually being woven. This is going to be a culmination of all of the other calls, and they're going to weave into this particular call. Okay. So what's coming up today is we're going to have a 30,000-foot view of the hero's journey, the monomyth that Joseph Campbell wrote about in The Hero with 1,000 Faces. And it's not only impacted Hollywood and psychologists alike, because what it does is it's showing us patterns that show up repeatedly, not only in the blockbuster movies, but in real life. So clearly we'll be touching on the real life thing because, you know, my Hollywood days are over. Kidding. And our lives are made up of stories. And this is another lens through which we can view our own story and better understand other people's stories. That's, I think, a really, really critical piece to this. And like I said, we're going to be building on the first three calls, the setting goals, paradigms, the self-image. And if you want, you can go back and revisit those calls, obviously, but you won't necessarily have to, because on the latter, the self-image call that we had last month, this is going to help put some depth and some richness into your self-image script, which was the homework last month. So I'll be posting a new kind of updated version of that PDF along with these slides. So we're also going to have a look at how the mind works. We're going to revisit the stick person. We're doing this on every call, but we'll also have a look at how this plays into the hero's journey. That if you want a detailed description of how the mind works, go back to the very first call we did on setting goals. There's a more detailed one there. We're going to touch on the 7 levels of awareness and how they tie into the hero's journey. And then, of course, we're going to get into the details of the hero's journey, each stage, including the hero's inner journey, what's happening while the story is unfolding. Go here. There we go. All right. So, quick refresher on how the mind works. We have this stick figure that Thurman Fleet had developed in the 30s to be able to explain to his patients, give them a visual of how the mind over matter works. So, we have the top part, which is the mind, bottom part, where what happens in the mind is expressed, the body. The top half, the mind, is divided into two sections, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Conscious mind is our thinking mind. It can accept or reject information. The subconscious or the emotional mind does not have the capacity to reject. So when we get the information fed to our conscious mind through our five senses, as well as our six higher faculties, when we marinate that information and emotion, it's then downloaded to the subconscious mind. It becomes habit, attitude, beliefs. It becomes our autopilot or our paradigm. Now, those habits then express through the body as behavior, which then leads to our results. Now, you would think that behavior is the primary cause of those results, but it's not. It's actually the secondary cause. The primary cause is our paradigm. If we want to change the results, we have to get to the paradigm, the root cause, the paradigm. So here's the thing. Then, because our mind thinks in images, the image we have of ourselves will be reflected in our results. So if we hold a poor self-image, poor results. Greater self-image, great results. So how does that play into the hero's journey? Well, whatever images we hold is what's going to translate into our story. And when images are threaded together in a compelling story, it then wields tremendous, tremendous power in our lives. And plus, understanding how the mind works helps us break through terror barriers, break through fears. So, in short, the thought we entertain in our educated mind, the feelings we hold around that thought, whether they be positive or negative, can express either negatively through fear, anxiety, worry, disease, or positively, understanding, faith, well-being, being at ease. So we'll explore that particular piece actually in a later call. But for now, suffice it to say that this stick figure plays into your hero's journey and the story that you're building for yourself, for your mind movie. So let's break the story down. We'll start with a quote. Joan Didion tells us that we tell ourselves stories in order to live. And I was reading, there was so much information. Actually, I had to actually pull some stuff out because I figured, oh my gosh, I'm never going to make it within the hour. There's so much around the hero's journey and how that applies to our lives. But what I wanted to, one that I wanted to keep was a quote from an essay that was written by Dan P. McAdams of Purdue University. It's entitled, "First We Invented Stories, Then They Changed Us, The Evolution of Narrative Identity." And in it, he says, like no other animal on the planet, we human beings love to tell stories. And we love to listen to them around the campfire, on the school bus. We watch them in the Cineplex or on our mobile devices, and we ponder the meaning of those stories, to obsess over them, to judge each other and consider events in terms of stories, and to think about our very lives as stories playing out over time and across a landscape of consciousness. Storytelling would appear to be an ingrained feature in human nature. This is why the hero's journey is such a big deal. So we're going to look at the hero's journey, but what I want you to do as I go through this is I want you to imagine yourself in the lead role throughout all of this lesson. As we go through the stages, think back on times where you have experienced that particular stage, because that's going to play into you writing your self-image script. So we're going to start with the 7 levels of awareness, because depending on where you are in that stage, depending on your level of awareness, is going to determine the richness and whether or not the lesson is actually integrated as you go through the hero's journey. So the first lesson, now, of course, there are several iterations of this. I do want to make that clear, but this is the one I learned through Bob Proctor, who may have actually learned it from Earl Nightingale, but regardless, but this is the one that really resonated with me. I think, Dana, I think you're the one who was talking about, yeah, there's several takes on this level of awareness. There's, David Hawkins' map of consciousness and so on and so forth. So in this particular instance, I'm bringing in these 7 levels because they play in and they weave quite nicely into the hero's journey. So the first level, animal. This is our fight or flight instinct. Okay. It's our basic survival instinct. Then next we move up to mass, and this is where we follow the masses. We pretty much check out what everyone else is doing and we do the same thing. So it involves very little thinking at this stage. We're just following the masses with no real desire to change anything. We're just going, we just call it go with the flow, right? Then there's aspiration. Now, this one is interesting because this is when we start to kind of break away from the pack a little bit. We have some malaise around the status quo. We want more. We're just not sure what that is. If we have some idea of what it is, then we start reading and hanging out with people who are doing what we aspire to do. We kind of start changing our environment. Individual. Now, this is where we tap into our superpowers. It's also a very interesting level of awareness because it's also where the paradigm starts to have a field day with us, because we know what we want and we're ready to use whatever skills are at our disposal to get it. But the paradigm then starts to try to beat us back to mass level. Because remember, I was talking about my paradigm, I call her Madge. This is where Madge goes ape shit. Pardon my French, but like, what are you doing? No, that's not going to work. Blah, 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 blah. But what happens here is that when the dream and the belief are stronger than the fear, and the fear is what's going to keep us stuck there, then we move to discipline. This is when we tell the paradigm what's what, and we give ourselves the command. It's our ability to give ourselves a command and stick to it. We're taking intuitive action. We're mobilizing our team, maybe even if it's just a team of 1 that's in our own head, right? We're essentially burning the ships at this stage. When we're disciplined and we're going, that's it, I'm doing it. I'm not going to be able to live with myself if I don't even do it. If I don't do it, not just try, because like Yoda said, right? Do or do not. There is no try. Anyway, that's I don't do Yoda. That sounded like a weird kind of Scottish mix of, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, so this is where it's also where 99% is hard and 100% is easy. And what do I mean by that? 99% is hard. Okay, I'm going to release some weight. Yes, I'm going to join the gym. I'm going to get on the program, but hey, my birthday's around the corner and I am going to have that cake and I am going to have that glass of wine. Yeah, that's 99%. That part is going to be hard because once you've given yourself that out, you're going to keep giving yourself the out. 100% is 100%. You've burnt the ships. You don't have any choice. You got to do something with this island you're on now. There's no other way but forward. Okay. So that brings us to, and here's the thing too, is that it's persistence and constant spaced repetition of solid habits that gets us to the next level, and that is experience. And this is where the results are speaking for themselves. We see the manifestations of our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, and this is where we own it. Understanding that it's been our new way of thinking that's brought this about. So we've shifted the paradigm, or at least one of them. It's never over. It's a constant thing. But we're empowered by what we see now when we've experienced it. And then it moves us to mastery. This is where we can rinse and repeat. Now we're approaching life differently. We're responding instead of reacting. We understand that the only constant in life is change, and we're ready for that. We know that we have everything we need inside of us and that our potential is truly, truly limitless. So we're going to tie all of these bad boys in here to the various stages of the hero's journey. So let's start by having a look at what the hero's journey looks like. Let me check time. I think I do have time to no, just in case. There is a link to the video that's a 3-minute video. It'll be part of the presentation. You can have a look at it. Let's just go through the overview together like this, okay? So now there are some versions that are a lot more granular, like 17 or more stages all mixed in there. I think Joseph Campbell in his book goes up to 32. I'm going to stick to the 12, the basic 12s. So Act 1 is really status quo. This is the ordinary world. And I've got a line missing across the middle, just so you know, so that the top half of that is the ordinary world and the bottom half is special. That's the special world. Now you've gone into a different realm altogether, something that you're not accustomed to. Okay. So from the top part at noon, you've got the status quo. Your level of awareness here starts of aspiration starts to creep in. You start getting uneasy with the way things are. Something is pulling at us. There's a little bit of a stress there that brings us to the call to adventure. Now, the call to adventure, when we think in terms of Hollywood, right? This is where the hero goes, yeah, okay, no, I don't want to do that. They refuse the call, but then it kind of smacks them upside the head in some other way. That happens in real life as well. We may not necessarily want to take the call. And very often we don't. But the call will keep coming. It's auto dial. It's going to keep coming. It's going to come in a different shape, but we have to face that change, that challenge. So that now we move to level 4 of awareness. And I'm going to get into more detail on that after that, but is individual, right? Now we're starting to think, okay, maybe I do have what it takes to answer that call. Now, assistance is where you're meeting the mentor. So this could be either a seasoned world traveler or the hero reaches within to a source of courage and wisdom. And for those that are familiar with David Hawkins' map of consciousness, courage, right, is that tipping point. It's at the level of 200, and it's where you move into an expanded state. Okay. At this stage too, when you are moving towards the departure, this is when you're on the verge of discipline, because once you've accepted the call, you've accepted the help, and you depart on the adventure, now you've burnt the ships. Then you come up to trials, tests, allies, enemies. You start sorting through those who genuinely want to support and those who are internalizing it and challenging why you would even want to think of doing something like this, right? Okay, but you're still in discipline. Now you're sorting through. This is where some relationships fall off because they're not getting what you do. They're not getting where you're going. Okay, the approach is now when you're putting the team of allies together. Again, it could be a team of 1, but chances are, no, you're going to have some supporters that you've met along the way that are going to help prepare you for the challenge that's ahead. You're still in discipline here. 6 o'clock is the witching hour here. This is the crisis. The hero hits a crisis. Think of all of the blockbuster movies that have run through this hero's journey. Star Wars, Rocky Balboa he didn't want to fight, but he did. But then, right, it's crisis and so on. All of these, Indiana Jones, Katniss Everdeen. the Hunger Games, right? They all come up to this crisis, which is a dark night of the soul facing their biggest fear. And it becomes, and sometimes there's even a death involved, but I see it as a death to oneself, to the old version of us. Because when you think of it, childbirth is painful. There's a crisis happening. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend I know what it's like to go through the metamorphosis of a cocoon to a butterfly, but I can only imagine. I mean, it's a process, right? So this gets us on the cusp of experience, which then takes us to the treasure. This is the reward, the win, the recognition. The result after that now is where the hero takes possession of the win. And that part is super important because this is where we get to exercise receive. Remember, ask, believe, receive, Jack Canfield's formula, right? The receive is where we own it. We own that treasure. Yes, we got it. We earned it. And this is also where gratitude kicks in. Because if we don't own it, then we're just going to be stuck in that loop. So there has to be a full, authentic ownership of the win. Okay. The return now is the road back to normal. Now it's the road back to normal because we're not home yet. There's a new life after that. The resurrection of sort. It's another test that's still there, the purification process. If you think of Luke Skywalker, yeah, he got what he needed from the Death Star, but he's still being chased as he's leaving, right? There's still that other piece that it's almost in our real life, it's almost like, are you sure you want this? Are you sure this is what you want? Yeah, I want it. Let's go. Like it's that last little test, if you will. Okay. It's where you get the residual nonsense that gets put away once and for all, or at least with more ease and sure-footedness. Okay. Then there's resolution. Now this is the mastery level. You now have the secret sauce, the elixir. You're returning home with new eyes, a new knowing that what's been learned can change the world, or can at least change your world. Okay. Any questions on this so far before I move to the next one? And you might have to put the little digital hand up because I can only see a few of you. We're good? We're good. All right. Okay, so the slides are getting busier, and there's a very good reason for that, because now there's a lot going on inside the hero. There's a lot going inside of you while this journey is taking place. Okay, this is the hero's inner journey through the 7 levels of awareness. So if we go back to noon, right, and the call to adventure at 1 o'clock, we're moving from mass awareness to aspiration, but we are operating with limited awareness. We're learning to be a beginner. Okay. As we move to 2 o'clock and getting assistance, now we're operating with a little bit more increased awareness as you're answering the call to adventure at 1 o'clock. So then you're moving to in the individual level, you're tapping into your superpowers and entertaining the possibilities, and you're getting help from within. You might be getting help from outside, but you're also getting help from within. All of your experience, the decades of experience that you have, your knowledge, you know that you can tap into that as you move forward into your journey, right? You might be seeing it through the eyes of a mentor. This is where the assistance comes in, okay? Getting help from the outside. Now you're on the verge of level 5 discipline. That, okay, I've got the confidence. I'm getting the confidence. Now I just have to decide. And that's what happens. So then departure at 3 o'clock is now the end of Act 1. Now you're committing to change. You've made the decision. You've burned the ships. This is the critical piece. There's no turning back. The trials at 4 o'clock, these are your tests, your allies, your enemies. You're experimenting with new conditions. Now, from a skill level, now you're operating from more of an intermediate level where your skill is concerned. You're sorting through the helpers and non-helpers. And that can be tricky, but you're looking at it with new eyes. As you keep going through this journey, you're seeing it with new eyes. You're still in the discipline level of awareness here. So the approach now, you are preparing for major change, for impact. You're mobilizing the team and you are in inspired action that is aligned with your goal. Again, still in discipline, so that by the time you hit crisis, this is a big change. This is the turning point, if you will. And I've got animal as the level of awareness with a little tilde, because it kind of feels like you're in fight or flight at this stage, right? But you are coming at it from an educated standpoint. But you will feel like the flight part of it will make you feel like giving up. You'll feel like you've fallen back, that you're not getting anywhere, that this is like, what the hell? This is not working. I don't understand. Why am I going through this? Right? But you haven't, because what happens is the breakdown always precedes the breakthrough. This is where your faith, regardless of what you ascribe to, whether it's just your faith in yourself or in a higher being, this is where your faith is going to get tested. The good news is you are on the cusp of experience. It's actually part of experience. Knowing you've got this behind you is huge. Okay, and that's part of the treasure. And the results is accepting now the consequences of this new life. This is the reward, the win, the recognition. This is the experience, the result that you get at 8 o'clock, right? Remember that whole receive thing. This is where the hero takes possession of it. Okay. And like I said, if you don't actually own it at this point, you'll get stuck in a loop of never enough. It's like, oh, okay, I got it. Fine. That's fine. It's behind me now. But if you're not taking a moment to savor and own it, then it'll never be enough. This is where you decide that, yeah, that happened. Yeah, I got through it. Yeah, I own the win. Okay, so that now when you're returning, this is a rededication or a confirmation, if you will. The road back to normal. Again, it's the road back. You're not home yet, but once you hit new life, there'll be a final attempt, maybe some last minute danger. In other storytelling modes, it's the denouement, right? There's the climax, and then there's a little bit of a tail. There's still a little bit of residual stuff that happens. It's like one more test, the purification process, if you will. And then it moves you to level 7, mastery at resolution. So what was conflicting at the beginning is now resolved. The residual nonsense is put away once and for all. Now you know how to approach this. And once you hit mastery too, is like you have now the secret sauce, the elixir. And like I said earlier, you're going back home with new eyes. So that's what's going on inside the hero while as they rip through these stages, as you go through these stages. Questions, comments? Okay, I'll take that as a no. All right. So now we've got essentially the plot outline, if you will. We've got what the emotional temperature is of the character. So let's look at the roles. There's a cast of characters that come into your story as well. So to look at a very basic movie plot, there's really this drama triangle that happens virtually in all movies, right? You've got the hero, the victim, the villain. And, you know, in life, we as humans tend to bounce around these roles. Ideally, we want to be outside the triangle, but there are times that it's necessary. It's a necessary rite of passage, if you will, to play the role. So, you know, if you look at the law of polarity, we need to feel the victim in order to feel truly empowered to be the hero of our own story. Sometimes you gotta understand both sides of that coin. So in the movies, the hero, for the most part, never acts alone. There's always a guide. The hero doesn't exist without a villain. The hero needs to save the day for the victims, right? But it can be even more nuanced than that when we break it down into archetypes. And this is something that Carl Jung spoke to. So archetypes are they're recurring patterns of human behavior, and they're often represented by standard types of characters. I'm sure Dana could probably speak way better than I could on this one, but I'm going to do my best to just sort of stumble through these, the main archetypes that we see here. So you've got the hero, that's you, that's getting the call to adventure. Then you have the herald, and that's the one who brings the call to adventure. Shadows. This one is really interesting because they could be in the movies, they're villains or enemies, but in real life, they could be our own shadow thoughts, right? The enemy within. In my case, Madge. Right? So in the stick figure, when grief, anger, frustration, and creativity are repressed, for example, like when we're living in ignorance, we don't know any better and we're just living in that stuff, it manifests into worry, doubt, and brings us to those threshold guardians, which is, you know, fear and anxiety, depression, and so on. Okay. So the threshold guardians, those are the forces that stand in the way at important turning points. So they could be jealous enemies or professional gatekeepers or whatever's going on inside of us, fear and doubt, and keeping us from taking that step forward. Then you have mentors. Those, of course, are the guides and guiding principles, though, when it's coming from within. So this represents knowledge, study, understanding, and manifests as faith and well-being when you're drawing from within, right? Shapeshifters. In the movies, we're talking vampires and werewolves, you know, they shift into another shape. But in real life, it's our perception of people that changes. For example, like how people can be two-faced, right? They're one way in front of some people. It's like, remember in Seinfeld, there was relationship George and there was friend George, and never the two shall meet. So he was shape-shifting, right? Based on what he needed at that time. Then you have tricksters. Those are the clowns and mischief makers. So for us, and when we're working from within, it's our own subconscious. It's, you know, is it intuition or is it paradigm? Sometimes we don't know. The mind might be playing a trick on us, as we like to say. Okay. Then we have allies. Those are the friends, the sidekicks, the buddies, the gal pals, you know, Sancho in Man of La Mancha, Beard in Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso fans out there, right? Beard. That's your classic ally, sidekick. Knew more about the game than Ted did and was there to support him wholeheartedly, right? So those are the archetypes. So when you pull all of that together, you now have the outline. You've got the hero's conflict while reaching those goals, and you've got the cast of characters. So now for your exercise, and I'm going to be downloading a new PDF that has these the hero's journey, the stages added to last month's PDF. Because what I want you to do is I want you to run a past movie that you have been through the hero's journey lens. But then go identify, who were your mentors? What was the intuitive nudge? What was the new life? What treasure did you accept? Did you receive it? Start asking those questions that have come up in this particular lesson, and then go back and rewrite your new script. And I love this quote, and I had to add it in here, that there are only 2 or 3 human stories, and they go on repeating themselves as fiercely as if they had never happened before. And that's it. Let's get to the Q&A. Let me stop sharing here so that I can see all of you guys. Okay. I know I kind of ripped through because I did have tons of stuff. And like I said, I pulled back on some because I was just going to be going down a rabbit hole that would have taken us over the hour. Does anyone have anything? Comment, questions? Dana, I almost want to put you on the spot. No?
One quick comment is just
Yeah.
like, it seems like it depends on where you start each story in a way. Like the former hero is the guide or is the mentor, can also be the guide and the mentor again, and the hero.
So, oh, I see. So you're in the hero's journey. You're saying the guide could be the hero and then going through?
From a different perspective, right? Like, you know, you're the hero, and what you've learned ends up making you the guide in somebody else's story.
Right. So Yoda had his own story.
I don't know. Yeah, Yoda was a hero, but
Right.
he was known to us as a guide or a mentor.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah. So who would have been like, I'm trying to think of the character's name in Hunger Games. Woody Harrelson's character had his own story, right? In Hunger Games, right? He would have had his own story, but he was her guide. Yes. So, yeah. So it's almost like an ikigai type thing, right? Because they intersect, the lines intersect. The guide does have their own hero's journey. You're right. Yeah. Excellent point. Excellent point. So how does that impact your life as a movie? As you go through this exercise, were there any holes that anybody saw that they may have not considered when they were going through that exercise, the self-image exercise, like your life as a movie? Or were there any surprises in the stages as we went through them? I'll take that as a no. So everything resonated then? It was like they were pretty clear, and it was like, yeah, okay. Could you see yourself in those? Were there stories that you went through that you could see yourself in? Yeah, Brenda Lynn?
I see this as being really helpful for my memoir. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Any writing that I'm doing is, life resembles all of this
Yep.
and my different journeys that I've had.
I've got an
Yeah.
article to send you, actually. I'll
Oh,
send it to you. If you can remind me, send me a messenger and just say a note in Messenger, because it's by and a video, as a matter of fact. It's a 20-minute video by a gentleman by the name of Christopher Vogler, who had actually revived this and wound up bringing it to Disney prior to The Lion King.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was able to tie all of that in. So again, another piece that I left out because, but I'm happy to share that with you. Yeah.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Cause he wrote a book about it too. It was a 7-page memo that was the foundation of The Writer's Journey. That's his book. And his name
Okay.
is Christopher Vogler. So happy, like I said, happy to share that with you.
Thank
If you
you.
could send me a note to remind me. Yeah, Dan, did you have a question?
Yeah, I really like the kind of connecting to the emotional stuff here, like the experimenting, the preparing for major change. It just quickly had me think, like, where would we be? Where's the paradigm? Where does it most show up? Where is it? Where do I write a note here to myself about
Yeah,
beware of
just
paradigm?
before the level before it's actually throughout, actually,
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
honest,
sort of,
but it really starts
yeah.
with the assistance and whether or not we accept the help,
Right.
right? And then because the assistance can come from within as well, but if we don't have that, if we don't feel like we have that, the right information, or
Sure.
we're basing it on maybe older, outdated information that may be
Right.
generations old,
Yep.
instead of,
You're
wait a
fighting
minute.
the last war, but
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're scared to ask for help. You don't feel like you should. Maybe you don't feel like you're worth it. You don't have the confidence. All these paradigm kind of
Bingo. Yeah. Yeah.
things happen. Okay.
Yeah. So it really happens throughout. I mean, as as you're learning go back to uh the trials and the approach, right? As you're mobilizing your team, as you are learning to sort through who are the helpers and the non-helpers, because how often do we hang on to friendships because, well, but we've known them for so long, or whatever. I mean, I had a 40+ year friendship end as I was going through my hero's journey. That was a tough one, because my paradigm was saying, well, no, we've been friends forever, right? That's my bestie. Well, we were at different stages of growth and evolution. It's not a question of who's right or wrong. And that's part of the paradigm too, right? We want to say, well, no, I'm right. That person's wrong. This is what I'm doing. Well, no, it doesn't necessarily work that way. You're just in different
No,
stages.
because that's kind of negative in a way, right? And you got to
Exactly.
like transition that to like a positive take, add some understanding, add some knowledge, and make it into like a.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very cool. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's why at the beginning I was talking about, it helps us not only in our own story, but to understand others' stories as well. Right. So that we move away from the blame game. Right. Does that make sense? Yeah. Cool. Oh, sorry, I can't hear you, Lucy. You're on mute. Oh, does it? Here, I'll click on ask to unmute, and then, yeah, or
Thank you.
there we go.
I guess I don't realize I mute. I was just saying how I really like what Daniel was just saying.
Yeah.
That just resonated with me because I tend to kind of go there the whole, well, they're wrong, I'm right. I mean, that sounds so egotistical, but just kind of like I see it as I want to do something better for me, but I liked what he said about how that's a negative thing and to try to go into more of a positive spin. I think I have to really remind myself of that a lot.
Yeah, and I think that you hit on something really important there, Lucy, is that we're part of a lot of our paradigms think that, well, in order for me to win, someone has to lose. That's not the case.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
when one wins, everybody wins. That's a shift, right?
Yeah.
And subliminally giving everybody permission to do the best with what they have in a particular situation. If that makes sense. Yeah. Any other comments, questions? Oh, I see oh, that's good, Dana. I just noticed your note. Lucy, Dana called him your husband.
Well, I didn't see that. Oh,
It's in the
chat.
chat. Yeah, husband. I like it.
Oh God, I love that. Oh, that's yeah, I'm gonna use that one.
That's another t-shirt we got to get made up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we may be starting a t-shirt business.
Exactly. I'm writing that one down.
Yeah, the-
Husband.
it's awesome. All right. Well, if this, are there any other questions, comments? Anything that resonated? Oh, she stole from somewhere. Yeah. It's brilliant though. I love it. Cool. All right. Well, if we're good, we don't have to go the full hours. So if we're good with this, then hopefully this gives you a little bit more framework around your movie, right? And as you map it out from here out. So take a look back, but just like you would check the rear view mirror. Okay, so don't get into too many details as you're looking back. There's a reason why the windshield is that much bigger than the rear view mirror. You're just checking, and then you want to focus on what's in front. Right, the one you do want to focus on and put a lot of time, attention, detail, and energy into is your movie going forward. Cool. And
Mhm.
I'm here always. You guys have any questions, something you want to bounce off me, by all means, I'm all ears. Okay. Cool. All right, everybody. Well, this is great. Thank you so much for joining. Like I said, full house. This is amazing. Love it. Cool.
Nice to meet you all.
You as well. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
All right. Bye, guys. Have a great day.
Bye, Carol. Thank you. Bye,
My
everyone.